This is an empty queen cell, and this is a completely different empty queen cell. I grafted queens for the first time this year, and this footage is from about 4 or 5 days after those queens should have emerged. I was trying to get a count of how many queens had emerged and which nukes did not have queens. This is what the cell looks like from above, and I thought this task would be as simple as pulling these cells out and seeing if they were empty or if they still had an unopened queen cell in them. Because we were less than a week since these queens had emerged, I knew that none of these queens would be mated yet. Finding a virgin queen is much harder than finding a mated queen. They are not as long, they still haven't fully developed, they're about the size of a worker bee, and you're really just trying to find them maybe based on color or shape or how they're moving around the hive. With 20 nukes to check, there was no way I could be confident that a nuke didn't have a queen simply because I did not find a virgin queen running around. The problem? Every single queen cell was empty. Any dead queens had been entirely cleaned out by the workers in these nukes. I was still able to figure out which queens had emerged, but I had to work my way through it. I did find some queens in some of the boxes, and I did find queen cells in other boxes. But where I was tripped up was if I found a box without queen cells that I thought still might be queenless. I'm going to walk through the differences between queen cells that have been cleaned out and the ones that had queens that emerged, and then what I did for those nukes that were hopelessly queenless. This is a queen cell where the queen had emerged. I found this queen in the hive, and that's what gave me a chance to kind of figure this out on the fly. If you look closely, you can see a perfect cutout at the bottom of this cell. It's exactly round, and you can see that the cell is actually still mostly intact, going back to that green queen cup. And it's mostly intact because the workers didn't have to clean it out. And in this next example, there's really no cutout that you can see. You can't see that perfect little circle at the bottom here. In fact, you can see way more of that green queen cell that I've grafted into. There is some wax from the queen cell still in this, but for the most part, it's empty, which means that those workers cleaned it out. And they cleaned it out because the queen was no good. This is a shot from the nuke with the first queen cell, and I didn't realize it at the time, but actually I caught a shot of the virgin queen right here. This is a frame from our second cups nuke, and what do you notice here? Queen cells all over. Here's 2 in the top right, here's 1 in the bottom right, and at least 5 on this bottom left. If a queen had emerged and been accepted, they would not be doing this. So I did find one hive that did not have any emergency cells and also did not have an emerged queen. So what I did for that was I cut an emergency cell off the bottom of another frame in one of the other nukes that did not have a queen emerge. You can see I just used a utility knife and I got as close to the frame as I possibly could to make sure that I wasn't piercing that cell. I reused the orange queen cell protector that I'd already used in that nuke, and I pushed that cell in to the top of the brood nest in the nuke that needed a queen. And while I try to normally never leave any gap between my frames, in this case I had to leave just a little bit because I did not want to squeeze that queen cell. So you'll see that these are not perfectly flush in the middle here. Since shooting this, I've been able to get out and see, and this queen not only emerged, but she got mated and she's laying a beautiful pattern. So some people really don't like using emergency queens. In my experience, sometimes they turn out really well. If you have any questions, please drop those in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. I'm up over 500 subscribers now, and thank you all so much for that. Hope this helps you out.